Booksy, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my January book haul. These are the 8 books that I got in January. Only 8. That's it. 8 books. The first book is one that I bought myself, and this is the Autobiography of Malcolm X as told to Alex Haley. I bought this because I was working with a student who I was trying to help him go through an essay process. And I realized that even though I think I know the story of Malcolm X, I don't think I've ever read the story of Malcolm X. So I bought the book. I bought this from the Schomburg Library in Harlem, which is a part of the New York Public Library system. It's attached to the County Cullen Library, so it's a part of the public library, but it has its own Black history focused bookstore. And so I bought this there. I thought it was just right that I buy this book in the bookstore in Harlem. And so I'm really happy to have it. I paid, this is a mass market paperback. It's $7.99. And I don't love mass market paperbacks, but this is the version of this book that I see most often. I don't know if I've ever really seen a copy that wasn't this format. I also have this ongoing challenge to read more of the books that my father read when he was in college. Some of them are books that I thought that I would read when I went to college here in the United States, but I didn't. As a child in Jamaica, growing up in a family where there were a lot of books, my parents kept the books that they read in college, and the books that my aunt had read when she was in high school, the same high school that I ended up going to, you know, I saw them around and I wanted to read them. And I figured at some point in my academic career, I would have read those books as a part of a required reading at school, but this never came up. I never had to read this book in any course in college. And so these are books that I'm just now picking up and reading on my own. Well, I guess I bought it because of an academic requirement, even though it's not my academic requirement. I started reading it. I didn't finish, so you're not going to hear too much about this book in my January recap, but I'm planning to revisit this and maybe finish it in February as part of my Black history reading. So you'll hear about this more in February when I do more Black history books. But I'm really excited to own this book and read it slowly. This is a story I think that we all know. We all know what happened with Malcolm X, or at least I think we all know his story, but it's good to have this book to reference, especially now. The next book that I bought, I got from Amazon, and this is P.H. Newby's Something to Answer For. This is the winner of the inaugural Man Booker Prize, and so I bought this because I'm doing my Man Booker 51 challenge, which I just decided today I'm gonna call the Man Booker 51 challenge because, you know, last year was Man Booker 50, and I failed at reading all the books in the 50th anniversary of the Man Booker Prize. So my second attempt is Man Booker 51, hashtag Man Booker 51. So I guess I'm gonna go back and update all the videos that I've made or blog posts that I've made about that Man Booker challenge, so that moving forward, we're gonna call this my very first book of my hashtag Man Booker challenge. This is P.H. Newby's book. It's set in the 1950s in Egypt, and it is about the political tensions that arose over ownership and use of the Suez Canal. This is in the 1950s, around the time when the Cold War was going on, and we had very tense relationships between different countries as a result of World War I, World War II, as well as the recognition of Israel as an independent state. And so this book talks about the Suez Canal and the treaties that should have allowed for the Suez Canal to be an international waterway, but the conflicts that arose over ownership and use of it. So this book I bought from Amazon. This was first published in 1968, which is probably why the cover design is so simplistic and a little austere, but they were republished in 2018, probably to meet the demand for people trying to read books for Man Booker 50, and so now it's just appropriate me reading it for Man Booker 51. So this one came from Amazon. The other books that I got for my Man Booker challenge came from Book Depository, and these 4, and they're all paperbacks, which, you know, I love hardcovers. I like to own hardcovers, but a lot of these older Man Booker books, they're not available in hardcovers anymore. They print a lot of paperbacks in the last few years, but if you really want a hardcover, some of these you'd have to go find first editions, and those could be even more expensive than these new books, so I'm not about to do that. The next book that I bought was Milkman by Anna Burns, which this is last year's Man Booker Prize winner. And even though I bought it, I wanted to have it. I'm not going to be reading this until the end of the year because I'm reading the Man Booker books chronologically. So this naturally should be the second to last book that I read for my Man Booker 51 challenge, because I read last year's book and then I'll read the book that won the prize, which might be a reread because I might do a Man Booker long list or Man Booker short list reading challenge this year as well, but we'll see. So Milkman by Anna Burns, I don't know too much about it and I don't really want to know too much about it, but I'm sure there are lots of people here on BookTube who've talked about this book, whether they love it or hate it. So I'll let you watch those videos and decide, but for now I own it, I'm happy to have it, and it is about 300 pages, so I'm looking forward to reading this towards the end of the year, so you'll hear about it from me then. The other three books are the other three next published books that won the Man Booker Prize. I have The Elected Member by Bernice Rubens. I have Troubles by J.G. Farrell, which this is the beginning of a series, and this is the book that was published in 1970, right around the time when the Man Booker Prize changed its rules, and so it wasn't eligible for consideration. So they had to go back later. Well, they didn't have to, but they went back later and reconsidered some books that they had missed because of that change in rules, and so this is the one that won the Lost Man Booker Prize. So even though its prize wasn't awarded until much later, I'm reading them chronologically, which is why I own this one. J.G. Farrell went on to win another Man Booker Prize for another novel that he wrote called The Siege of Krishnapur, which I think is set in India. This one is set in Ireland. Next book that I got to participate in my Man Booker challenge is V.S. Naipaul's In a Free State. This won the Man Booker Prize in 1971. V.S. Naipaul was born in Trinidad. At 18 years old, he left Trinidad and went to England, and he lived there, I think, ever since, except that at the time, England was a huge colonial power, imperialist, and so V.S. Naipaul, having been born in one of the colonies and then living in the colonial country itself, he probably experienced colonialism from very different aspects, and so a lot of his writing has to do with the effect of colonialism and imperialism and how that affects people. This collection includes 5 stories featuring characters from very different international backgrounds and shows how they're changed when they encounter people with very different cultural ideas and traditions. And of course, Bernice Rubens, Elected Member, you'll be hearing a lot more about this one when I do my Man Booker discussion video on February 4th. Next book I got from Book of the Month Club because I still had a few credits, and I chose Golden Child by Claire Adam. This one, the author is from Trinidad. She now lives in England, and the story is set in her native Trinidad. It follows a pair of identical twin boys, one of whom is gifted, and I think something happens to him. He goes missing, and maybe they try to pass off his less academically inclined brother as him. I don't know the story. I haven't read it yet, but I'm gonna be reading it this weekend because I have another copy. I got another copy from the publishers in order to review. I forgot that I had ordered this, and so I requested this. No, that's not how it went. I forgot that this was coming, so I requested this from Book of the Month Club. This is how you know I'm really interested in a book, that I have a free copy coming and I still purchase another one. So that happens sometimes. I have a review scheduled to post on my blog in February, so you'll be hearing more about this book. No, not this book. This book. Or the same book. But I have to show you this one because this is the one that I got from the publisher. I like how so the only difference in the size is because they want to be able to add this Book of the Month above this. So this spine and this spine, let's show you. So this is what they look like, and they're the same, except we have to make it bigger so that the Book of the Month Club logo can go on top. And the font stays the same. Life. So because of that, the font in the Book of the Month books is bigger because the pages have to be the same. So here is what this looks like. I'll show you the first page. Can you see? if you ever wanted to know how the book of the month books are different from the books that you'll see in the bookstores, that's how. And the last book that I got was a gift that came to me on the last day of the month on one of the coldest evenings on record. And I think it was just destiny that it came to me, because it is Snow Country by Yasunari Kawabata. And this is a gift from Sean over at Sean the Book Maniac. He really is a book maniac. He sends me books from Japan. They come to me by airmail, they come to me by boat mail, but they come to me. Sean has sent me now 4 books or 5. I don't know. Sean has sent me a lot of books. Thank you, Sean. Thank you so much for all these books that you've sent me. I can't do anything except say thank you, thank you, thank you. So Yasunari Kawabata's Snow Country, I haven't yet read, but I enjoy Yasunari Kawabata's writing. I've only read one thing by him, and I have another book by him that I'm going to be reading. So this is Yasunari Kawabata. He's a Nobel Prize winner for literature, and so I'm going to be reading this pretty soon. It's 120 pages. And I could fit this in an afternoon, so I could tell you more about this pretty soon. For now, it's not much of a synopsis, but I'll tell you. It says, Shimamura is tired of the bustling city. He takes the train through the snow to the mountains of the west coast of Japan to meet with a geisha he believes he loves. Beautiful and innocent, Komako is tightly bound by the rules of a rural geisha and lives a life of servitude and seclusion that is alien to Shimamura. Their love offers no freedom to either of them. So that is the synopsis of Snow Country, and I'm going to be reading it pretty soon, so I'll be able to tell you whether I love it or not. But for now, these are the 8, well, make it 9 books that I got in January, because I have 2 copies of Golden Child. These are they. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know if you have any of these books that you are also reading. I'm hoping that a few of you have this book on your TBR, because we'll be back to talk about this book on February 4th. That is when we're having our very first discussion of the 2019 edition of the Runwright Reads Book Club. And so this one is here because I'm reading it for the book club this year. And we've pushed our January reading discussion to February 4th. So I'll be talking about this one then. And I don't know, you'll probably hear a lot about this one because February is Black History Month. Dee from Brown Girl Reading is hosting Read So Lit again. And so we'll be looking for a lot of books that highlight African Americans, or books that were written by African American authors, or however we celebrate Black history. And Claire Adam, even though she is Trinidadian, I'm not sure what her ethnicity, like her racial background is. She may have some African roots, she may have some Indian roots, she may just be a European from a European family that was living in Trinidad when she was born. I don't know, but these books are set in Trinidad, and Trinidad has a huge Black community, so I don't know, we'll see. And so these are the 9 books that I got in January. 9 because I have 2 copies of Golden Child, but 8 titles, 9 books. So I'd love to hear from you as well. Let me know which book you acquired in January that you're most excited to have. Or if it's a different answer, which book from your January haul you're most excited to read in February. I'd love to talk with you in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for sharing this reading journey and reading experience and reading adventure with me. Love to have you come back, watch another one of my videos. So we'll talk in the comments, and until next time, happy reading.